back. Hi.
There we go. We're back.
We're back. Hi, guys. Quick break. I know we usually go into a host segment and then get into the game, but these players are quick, as is evidenced by the style that we are driving in. So we are going to get right back into the action here very, very shortly. Hello, everybody. I am Legion J, and I am welcomed, of course, to my right. It is going to be none other than our resident in-house Fullspeed expert, Orion. Welcome back.
I hate how you guys keep calling me that because it makes it sound like I'm good at full speed, and I'm not. I am not, man. I cannot drive these maps. Like, I know what a speed slide is. That doesn't qualify me as a full speed expert in the slightest, but let's hand over to our actual resident full speed experts. We are casting the upper bracket match between Acid Gurkha of Germany, Moose of the UK, Timebreaker of North Macedonia, the only North Macedonian featured throughout the entirety of the Trackmania games, a literal one-man army playing the tech solo, mixed solo, and full speed events. And I can already say that it looks like Full Speed is going to be the strongest event for the North Macedonians. So we definitely wanted to feature him on stream. And we also have Laurids. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I've met some Danish people before and trying to get that as best as I can. Laurids?
I believe it's loudest. Loudest, I think. It's, I don't know. The Danes are weird with how they pronounce things. So, I mean, it's still a solid lineup, though. I mean, besides, of course, Timebreaker's DNF, it's Acid Gurkha, Loudest, and then Moose 1, 2, and 3 separated less than half a second. So I would say that's what we should probably come to expect from this. Of course, we'll figure out where Timebreaker goes in all of this, but for the most part, I think we have a bit of a preview as to what is going to happen soon enough. As we continue on further and further, we are still in that 100-point with finalist style of doing things, so much like the previous match.
I'm not sure that we are. I think it's 120 now, as we're now into the finals. So from quarterfinal, we go to 120 points. So this match will be slightly longer. Get to that 120 points, get onto finalist, win the round, and you are through to the top 8 in the upper bracket.
Okay, because I think it should show on the scoreboard when it gets pulled up at the end. We won't do that right now. We'll just wait. But either way, Acid Gurkha, Moose, Timebreaker now in third. We wonder if this is probably where the North Macedonian truly is to be. And of course, this is the first of 3 maps. We don't know how the other 2 maps are going to go. We haven't seen these drivers drive on them since the opening qualifiers. So Acid Gurkha, another 10 points for him. Then it's going to be Moose, Timebreaker, and Loudest having to settle for that last place. So it is going to be 120. So an extra couple rounds here and there before we actually get to the end. But nothing that we can't handle, I don't think, Orion.
Oh, no, definitely not. And we have also, you may have noticed it on stream, through the power of technology, made the skid marks a little bit more visible on all of the cars for the Full Speed event. If you weren't around earlier, we said that Full Speed is all about speed sliding as Laurids hits the wall there. Full Speed, all about speed sliding, gains you extra speed if your skid marks are overlapping, as you can see beautifully demonstrated by Timebreaker there. And it's all about hitting those perfect SDs to carry as much speed as possible through the map and get to that finish line first. So hopefully everyone on stream now can see a little bit better the lines that the players are taking through those black skids that they're leaving behind, and also how well they are holding those SDs through the long sweeping turns.
I gotta say, actually, it's one thing to be able to get the SD, but it's another thing to hold it while also going through what is basically a minefield of,
yes. Yeah, exactly,
of a track. And the other thing is, at least when I play Full Speed, I am constantly switching back and forth from the road to the track to the, from the car to the road, and back and forth. And it's such a, it's a little overwhelming at times, because it feels like I am basically setting myself up for a crash. And that obviously doesn't help at all. But these guys, they make it look effortlessly. It's like they're like an iguana. They got one eye on the car and one eye on the road.
Yeah, it is a completely different way of playing, because like a lot of the top players, you know, in like the mixed and tech tournaments will say like always look like at the apex of the next corner in front of you, like look where you're going, not where you are. Whereas in Fullspeed, a lot of the time, I don't know if it's the same for the top level players, but at least for me, like, you know, if I'm in a long sweeping turn, I'm not looking at what's coming up. I'm looking at my skid marks to try and make sure that I'm holding that perfect SD and gaining as much speed as possible. Whatever is coming up in front of me, you know, we'll get to that when we get there. Let's just make sure that we get there fast, right?
Yeah, exactly. Get there fast, get there safely, as we do have that final round being played out. Loudest, unfortunately, another DNF. So not that great of a start for the Dane, but still 2 more maps to play. You wonder with certain players, some of them are able to just hit the ground running. Some of them do need a little bit of that ramp up. Do you think that Loudest might be in that second camp needing maybe a map or so to actually get into a comfortable seat? Or do you think that maybe he's just not that comfortable on this first map?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a case of being comfortable. I think it's more just a case of the caliber of the player that he's going up against. You know, just can't afford to drive those safe rounds because ultimately he'll still finish last. So has to try and push it, and in pushing it is maybe sacrificing some consistency. So I think it's going to be a tough match because, you know, we picked this match because the third place player here is quite strong, and third place in terms of the seeding order is quite strong coming into it, and could cause an upset. But honestly, I think it is going to be a tough match for Laurids to try and be competitive. We might see a couple of rounds where, you know, pops off and drives within a couple of tenths of PB, but overall I think it is going to be Acid Gurkha and Moose up the front, and then Timebreaker potentially challenging for a round or two. We'll see if Timebreaker can find that consistency, as we do see him in second place at the moment. Moose, though, with better line, more speed into the transition, is going to get that overtake done and start to pull that gap out.
Yeah, the gap's not being opened up as quickly as I would have expected, although as we sort of slide around this track and dash this way and that, it seems as though Moose has gotten more and more space between himself and Timebreaker, and I think he's actually starting to pull up on Acid Gurkha a little bit. 900ths of a second as we go through the checkpoint, but it drops down 3/10. We'll see if maybe there's an overtake here at the end. We have seen a couple of those happen in earlier matches, but sadly not. It will be 0.2 of a second between the German and the Brit. A 57.841 by Acid Gurkha in this first round of 4 here on Stinger. World record held by Ends. That's a 57.05. Almost a sub 57. You wonder if that's even possible on this map.
Yeah, that is a crazy time. I mean, for context, second place is a 57.15 by Delu Luna. Acid Gurkha's own PB is a 57.214. And Josh in fifth with a 57.285. So that is basically 2.5 tenths up on the best that Josh could do, and many, including myself, are touting him for at least top 2 in this tournament. So yeah, that's an absolutely insane time attack record, and I mean is also 0.5 tenth up on Slifer by Mayonnaise as well. So it's a shame. It's a shame that we don't have Ends here, as Laurids from second makes a mistake. But Grenadi on stream was saying that Ends just wasn't feeling well, had some health issues, and obviously health comes first. So it's a shame that we're not going to be seeing them competing today, as they probably were the favorite coming into the tournament. But yeah, health always comes first, and we hope that they feel better soon.
Yeah, it's always unfortunate when you have all this prep work and you're getting ready to go, and you wake up and your body just says, hey, we're not doing that today. So it's unfortunate, but, you know, that is life. So hopefully Ends feels better soon. Of course, being substituted with Chroma, so Chroma kind of picking up that mantle. I would say a bit of pressure for him, especially we talked about it earlier, of Ends being, you know, Germany's, I guess, #1 for Fullspeed, and because he had all the practice, and Chroma not so much, but that is something we'll worry about later. Acid Gurkha, though, I would say now is probably Germany's #1 player, as
yes,
he is.
Grenadi said the same.
Yeah, easily dispatching Loudest and Moose. Timebreaker's fallen off a little bit. It's only 0.5 second just about, but in Fullspeed, that is basically a loss. That's, you have to bank on everybody in front of you somehow completely messing up and throwing it all away. But we do have Moose getting the overtake near the end on Loudest, as Acid Gurkha is Holding strong there in first. Ooh, Moose. He's getting that last line a little bit better. I wonder if he can try and keep it close to Acid, maybe we see an overtake there in a future round.
Yeah, Moose looks really strong in the second half of the map. Doesn't seem to be challenging Acid through the first couple of turns, but once the speed builds up, it does seem like Moose is nailing those SDs and does go for a slightly interesting, not different line, but really likes to kind of chop around and get like, you know, a left SD and a right SD in, whereas other players opt to hold the line more. You can definitely see him moving that car about on the track a lot more, especially in the second half. It's so interesting because, you know, like there's no two players that are taking exactly the same line through all of the turns, unless it's, you know, like a really narrow section where you do have to, you know, find that precision. When the turn is wide open, you're seeing a lot of variability in the line. This time it is Moose in the lead over Acid Gurkha. Slightly different line on the transition there, and Acid Gurkha comes up with slightly more speed. Does just about get the overtake done. It's going to be the final transition. Acid Gurkha goes slightly higher and then carries the speed out. Look how much that gains him. Just slightly higher, a slightly higher line on that overturn there, and carries the speed out of it, ends up 2/10 in front. Moose himself in chat saying terrible end. Yeah, because he knew he had that overtake done. But it is kind of playing out as we expected so far, Legion. Acid Gurkha currently in the lead of the match on 76 points. Moose on 42, and Timebreaker's still definitely within touching distance on 36. And then we have Laurads bringing up the rear on 18. So it seems like Acid Gurkha is in control of the match, is well over halfway to that 120-point limit. But Moose and Timebreaker, maybe there is still a little bit of spice left in this match.
I would agree so, but it's going to take a lot of effort and a lot of mistakes from Acid Gurkha to really turn the tables, because these first two maps, besides one round, it has really just been almost the perfect run for Acid. I mean, you said 76 points, and we've only had two maps, so you max of 4 rounds each, that's a max of 80 points, so he's just missing out on a little bit. But we'll see if maybe potentially he can swing things further in his favor as we do head on to our third map here. Acid Gurkha still in that lead, 76 points, 33 points separating himself, or sorry, 34 points separating himself from second. That's a very comfortable lead, very, I don't want to say impossible to overcome, but you got a better chance of winning the lottery 3 times in a row.
Yep, not the best start there for Moose in this round.
Oh,
that's
there
a mistake
he goes.
From Acid Gurkha. That's straight out. It's full dead and Laurads as well. So Timebreaker streaks into the lead. Moose is going to have his work cut out, although he is only 2/10 behind, so that is not impossible. Does look like he has slightly more speed as they continue to go through the checkpoints. That's one of the first, or probably the first DNF that we have seen from Acid Gurkha. Moose has the speed and is going to get the overtake done as well. Reduces the airtime on the transition, holds that SD beautifully as he lands, and ends up just over 1/10 in front. So you can see, even though the gap looks enormous, sometimes it only is a couple of tenths, and just reducing airtime or getting an overturn or you know, just nailing those SDs as you land through those transitions can get you the speed, as by the end of the map you just fly past your opponents.
I know, and it's insane to watch that. It almost looks like they're on rails when they start hitting those left and right SDs after going over transitions. It makes you wonder, oh, Moose, all right, well, Moose is out of this round, as I was saying, though, but making these transitions, and you almost kind of expect them to start sliding out, but it's just, you know, look at it, you can see Acid Gurkha showing exactly what I'm talking about. See you later, mate. Yep, just all right, B for boost, I'm out of here, goodbye. There's no DRS, but we're gonna find some. But just watching them hit these, mad. It really is. Like, it almost feels unfair. Like, you know, it's like it's like the older brother, younger brother thing where, you know, it's like, oh, we're going to play basketball, and the older brother slaps the ball out of the air. It's almost like that. It feels like Acid Gurkha is just having a field day here, and we actually have double DNF from Moose and Loudest. So with Moose DNFing again, or for this first time, that is going to grow the gap. It's still 34 somehow, but I mean, you wish he was closer if you're hoping for the UK or for Great Britain rather to close up on Germany.
Yeah, Granadi summed up Fullspeed really well. He said, like, I don't really know what they're doing, good or bad. I just see them randomly gaining speed and knowing that they're doing something really well. And that was exactly how that last round played out, with Acid Gurkha, like you said, just seemingly hitting the boost button as Laurids is going to be hitting the wall. So we have another double DNF, and it is Moose and Acid Gurkha, although Acid Gurkha is flying in the distance, 2.5 tenths up on Moose as things stand. Haven't been paying that much attention to the kind of times that are being driven in rounds at the moment. We'll have a look at what this is from Acid Gurkha. That's a 53.890. World record is a 53.385. And Acid Gurkha's own PB is a 53.425. So driving within about 4 tenths of PB, which is kind of what we expect from, you know, the highest level players in their respective disciplines.
Yeah, we're still very early in this, so as we play these maps more and more, I think that will absolutely be coming down for someone like Acid Gurkha. I won't be surprised if we have somebody, you know, decently high level who actually ends up PBing by the end of today. I mean, obviously, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'll have to, you know, take a look later. But this has been excellent for Acid Gurkha. Minus a couple of rounds, it's been pretty smooth sailing for him. I know Moose is trying to overcome the turbulent waters as Loudest does a little bit of a backflip with no style points here in TM games, but certainly counts in my heart. Moose with the overtake, and for the first time in forever, I think, since the start of this match, Acid Gurkha staring at the back of a British car, and that's going to stay true as we go through the last couple of transitions. Moose was very wide there. I thought he was going to clip, but thankfully did not. So Moose with a much-needed 10-pointer to pull away from Timebreaker a little bit. Not enough to have a total 10-point gap, but enough to sit a little bit more comfortable. But 102 for Acid Gurkha as we are going to be swapping back around. That's insane. I mean, we had the first match where we had effectively two players just kind of trading back and forth, but this is a lot more dominating from Acid.
Yeah, it's exactly the word that was springing to mind for me. Absolutely dominant from Acid Gurkha. 102 points, and nearest competitor Moose on 68. That is quick maths, 34 points adrift.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm not a math major.
Yes, 34 points. So that's a lot of points. That's more points than Laurids has in the match. Which,
that's a bit disturbing to think about.
Yeah, that's a big gap. So, yeah, the German doing very well in our other matches. I guess we can talk about another German who is currently leading the way is Kirill in front of Wrist, Pink Lemonade, and Mudder. The Australian not finding much success on the full speed, despite that being the style that he is, I guess, originally most known for. Josh confidently winning his match even more convincingly than Acid Gurkha is. He's currently sat on 106 points with the Slovakian player Zim Zalabim on 62. And then in our first upper quarterfinal, we have Deluluna on 89, followed by Meeks. How did you spell? Is that Cuba? The American dude.
We said Kuwuber. I feel like it might be like Kuwuber, because it's not. If it was, I feel like if it was Kuwuber, it'd be 2 B's, not 1. So I'm gonna say Kuwuber.
Yes, it's definitely got an uwu in there, doesn't it?
Don't ever say that again. Don't ever say that again.
It does. That's how you pronounce it.
Can someone clip that and send it to me?
I need to come at me.
No, you said it.
You don't pronounce it a word. You pronounce it uwu. Like, come on. It's logic. I'm not.
Anyways, Acid. Yes, you are. Acid Gurkha, 112 points. That's something we would say. 1 round away from finalists, and of course, 1 round after that to actually secure it. And then Moose down 74. So once we get the German out of the way, is Loudest, the immediate DNF, not the transition he wanted. Once we get Acid Gurkha dispatched, done and dusted, I think we will have some closer rounds here. Moose, of course, 10 points for him will accelerate his run to 120, but Timebreaker with 55. He's got some work to do if he wants to actually overtake the British driver.
Yeah, I think having some slight consistency issues on the previous map was typing in chat that he had a 50% crash rate, so I think that was playing on his mind a little bit, although we do see a fierce battle up the front here between Acid Gurkha and Moose as we come out of this transition. It seems like Acid Gurkha has slightly more speed, but Moose is still right behind as we go through 2 loops in a row on the wall ride onto the dirt transition, and it is Acid Gurkha in front after we go through all of the Cam 3 overturns. I tell you what, like, these players must be just immune to motion sickness, because there are so many transitions to Cam 3 in these maps where you're, doing corkscrews and overturns and loops, and like, I'd just be sick. Like, I get really bad motion sickness, and I can't play full speed for that long because it just messes with my head.
I think it's also the frequency at which these camera changes happen. I mean, it's not, every half second it's going back and forth, but there really isn't much time. And you're seeing it right here as we're going through transitions, and it's Cam 1, Cam 3, Cam 1, Cam 3, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I don't suffer the same ailment that you do of getting motion sick playing full speed for a while. If anything, I just get a little disoriented at first, but eventually you kind of figure out where those triggers are, and going from there and just driving the best you can. But Acid Gurkha, what a line he's got, what a lead he's got, almost half a second. We'll see what it is. He goes very low to the ring, but Acid Gurkha punches his ticket to the next round, so that opens up 10 points for the field to play with. We will be getting rid of that 3-pointer, so that puts Moose in the lead now, 84 points to Timebreaker's 65, and Loudest not having the best showing here, only 29 points for the Dane.
Yeah, we saw a message from chat pop up on screen there that said driving sub in rounds is insane. I assume that is a sub 54, and Acid Gurkha has been doing it every round, like within half a tenth, I would say, of half a second of the world record and of his own PB. So yeah, to drive that in full speed consistently, you're right, it is insane, but that is testament to the level of competition that we have on show here, as Acid Gurkha has now qualified, so we are only seeing 3 players remaining, and it is now a battle between Moose and Timebreaker. I fear that Laurid's too many DNFs, too many rounds where he has not been able to score points, does get in front of Timebreaker towards the end of this round. See if he can hold on to that second place, as Moose is just gone, like, which is even more insane, like how Acid Gurkha was driving, because Acid Gurkha was in front of him and you couldn't even see Moose's car. It was so far in the distance in that round. Laurid's does hold on to second place out of the 3 remaining drivers as we play our final round on that map, and we are all the way back to our first rotation. That's great. Wait, is that right? Have we done a rotation already? Is my maths?
Yeah, we've already gotten back to, because this was the map that Acid Gurkha basically just piled on everybody. Yep. So, we have made it back. We got 1 rotation out of the way. We might see a second. I'm not 100%, but we could, depending on how these rounds go. You mentioned with Moose being half a second ahead of, the second place driver in that round. Keep in mind, he was consistently within a couple of tenths of Acid. So yeah, so I mean, that's also something to worry about. Is Moose is having that half-second gap, but okay, there's also this German dude that's like 2 tenths in front of him. Right. So now the gap is even larger. But with Acid Gurkha out of the way, it has come down to just 3 drivers here: Moose, Timebreaker, and Loudest. 94, 69, and 35 respectively. So we'll see if Moose can start closing this out a little bit faster now that he has 10 points up for grabs. But if memory serves, this map was a little bit all over the place in terms of finishers.
Yeah, it was definitely the most kind of crash-prone map, I have to say. I think it was Timebreaker and Laurid's both didn't have great success here. Laurid's losing a bit of speed, and you can see Moose closing the gap. Maybe Laurid's has got it back slightly. We'll see how Moose handles this one. takes a wider approach through the transition and a much wider line, gets the speed. It's so close between these two. I think Moose has slightly more speed, goes a lot higher, should have better exit speed, gets those SDs down as well, reduces the airtime, but it is Lauritz into the finish first. I thought Moose was going to be hitting the side there, but just sneaks in, and Timebreaker 3.5 tenths behind the pair of them.
It's a very good round, especially for Loudest, because he needs these points desperately if he wants to get back into this fight. But Moose, 100 points, so he's just got to win 2 more to get to finalist, and 1 more, of course, to do it there. But I don't think it's going to be this round, as he does make that mistake very early on. He will be able to keep going as far as I am concerned, so he's not entirely DNFing here. So it now becomes Loudest and Timebreaker battling it out for first. I don't think Timebreaker has had a first place yet. I think he's the only driver in this lobby to have yet get 10 points added to his name, unless I am wrong. But from what I've seen, it has mostly been the Acid Gurkha Moose show. But this round could be the first opportunity, potentially maybe even the only opportunity. Moose is not one to really make those massive mistakes, especially at the start, if anything.
Yeah, I think it was just a clip, but ultimately in Fullspeed, that costs you all of your speed at the start. That's going to be a DNF from Timebreaker, though, surely. I can't see him being able to respawn from that one, so that promotes Moose back up into second place, and those were going to be some big points for Timebreaker there. That was going to be a +6, and in terms of closing the gap, yep, Timebreaker does not have the speed to complete the map, so it is going to be a 6-point swing in favor of Moose. It would have been... could have been the opposite, but unfortunately crashed there into the sign. But these kind of competitive maps, they put so many transitions and so many obstacles in the way, and they all come at you at such a rate of knots that that just increases the difficulty, right? You know, if the whole track was just, you know, transition, speed slide, transition, speed slide, like that's like your friendly cup of the day full speed. Like, these tracks are designed to trip you up, designed to have, you know, clips, speed checks, obstacles, incredibly difficult. So, you know, the fact that any player is able to, you know, regu rounds on this kind of track while and setting within like half a second of their PB is insanely good.
Absolutely it is. And Loudest right now really taking advantage of this. This has really been his map, it seems like, second time around. He said in the chat that the comeback is real, but as far as I'm concerned, we're only going to play 1 more round on this map. Here comes Moose into the jump! Oh, come on! It's 0.02 of a second! I don't know how Loudest held on to that one. That was so lucky. I want to say it was that low jump that saved him. If Moose had just moved over to the left a little bit, yeah, he would have been on 16 points, but unfortunately not. That's a great round, though, from Moose, really making amends to what happened last time around in Loudest. Could we see a sweep? Could we see a clean sweep from the Danish driver, you think?
I mean, we could definitely see him overtake Timebreaker here. We were talking about Timebreaker as being a potential challenger for Moose. I think whatever happens here, Moose takes this. He's on 112 points. Lauritz is on 65, and I think we only play to a top 2. So once Moose qualifies, the match will be over, and it will be however many points you have remaining. So it is a bit of a race against time for Lauritz here, because he is going to have to go try and, you know, overcome that 12-point deficit to Timebreaker, and that potentially would give him an easier matchup based on seeding if when he drops down to the lower bracket.
And it is going to be that clean sweep for Loudest. He won't be able to overtake, even if Timebreaker was not able.
Wait.
I'm sorry.
He just drove a 57.4 in rounds.
Okay.
Whoa.
All right, Loudest.
Whoa. He PBs by 0.3. That's mad. That is good enough for... What was the time? 57.4. I couldn't see. That's good enough for at least 9th.
478, we've been told.
That's 9th place on the leaderboards, above Chroma.
That's in rounds.
Yeah, that's in rounds.
Oh, I'm doing it in time attack. That's ridiculous. So,
bro, why didn't you just do that earlier?
Damn, you're right. Why didn't I
think of that?
Just drive PB every round, guys. You want to get better? That's how you do it. That's still ridiculous. And I was almost ready to write him off entirely be like, all right, whatever, Moose has nothing to worry about. He's gonna, he's gonna come and do his thing, and then life is gonna be fine and dandy. I'm wrong. I am so wrong. Apparently, Loudest has figured out how one of these maps actually works. So, unfortunately, we can't be on that map much longer. It is, of course, time to switch again to another map. And as the drivers get off and going for another round of action, it is Moose, of course, 118. He just has to finish this round to get finalist. And then Timebreaker on 81, Loudest on 75. So, a lot of work for the Dane and the Northern Macedonian driver to try and usurp Moose's position at the top of the leaderboard. But right now, the early start has shown that it is going to be Shift's own Moose, who is just continuing to pull away. At that checkpoint, it's a 10th and some change. But at the next one, it's almost 0.2 of a second. And I fear that's going to grow even more. Yes, it does. Moose in the driver's seat here, getting these transitions as Timebreaker making a mistake and absolutely whacking on that pole. So that's going to put him out of competition. He will have to DNF. But it is Loudest, almost 4/10. Moose is, I feel like he's just risking for the sake of risking. Like, there's no reason for it, but he's just doing it because he can.
Yeah, looks insanely fast. That was a 54-1. We saw Acid Gurkha, though, driving sub 54 in rounds. 54-8, I think, was the fastest that we saw. Moose onto finalist, though, and likely qualifying, although we do have a significant battle here between Laurid's and Timebreaker. Never mind, Laurid straight into the pole. If Moose wins the round and Timebreaker survives, it will be Timebreaker in third and Moose qualifying. Timebreaker could still deny Moose and gets off to a great start in this round, but as we've seen, Moose can reel his opponents in, can just nail those SDs and turnovers. The gap right now is 0.2, but anything can happen as we go through the turns here and the transitions.
Yep, and it grows a little bit. It's not a lot. It's still in that 0.2 gap, but I think Moose has a bit more speed. He does. Okay, he's taking 200ths off, but we're closing in rapidly on the end of the track. I think it might be just a little too late. As Timebreaker making one transition, making another transition. Moose does have the speed, but it's just not going to be enough. So Timebreaker getting 10 points. That's going to give him a 10-point gap to Loudest. They're both at 81. Or, well, sorry, they are at 81 now. Now it's going to be 91, but that's still 4 rounds in a row that Timebreaker would have to deny Moose to also get to finalist and actually go through to the next upper bracket round. We'll see, though. Anything can happen here.
Yeah, it seems like maybe Timebreaker and Laurid's are trying to team up here, although a bad landing there from Laurid's is going to put him a little bit adrift of his competitors, and Moose, with more speed at the start, is going to streak past Timebreaker and into a commanding lead in the round that he will have to hold on to if he wants to make it through to top 8 in the upper bracket. There goes Timebreaker, and Laurid's trailing by an absolute mile. It feels like a victory lap for Moose. I mean, second place, but still feels like a victory lap as he continues to go through the transitions, nail those SDs. He is fully in control of the round and his own destiny, and he's definitely not going to crash now. Into the finish goes Moose and qualifies for the upper bracket semi-final.
Yeah, Loudest was looking at a bit of a comeback there. He was feeling it. Him and Timebreaker in the chat, like you said, teaming up a little bit, but unfortunately, things have to come to an end as Moose was able to come on through and secure that second place, so he will continue on into that upper bracket along with Acid, Gurkha, and of course Loudest and Timebreaker. They're not done yet. They're going to go down and fight for their lives in that lower bracket, but while they all do that, folks, we are going to welcome back to the booth here, of course, none other than Randomize and Pyro. Gentlemen, thoughts on that match from the sidelines?
Pyro and I, honestly, we both were kind of cheering on for Timebreaker. we wanted the upset. You know, Timebreaker kind of represented his own nation by himself, so it was a little unfortunate. But there is a lower bracket. It's not the end of the world, not the end, but definitely was hoping that Pyro. I mean, yeah, it was by the book who we expected to go through, but I think you were also on the same page as me, right?
Just about. I mean, yeah, for Timebreaker, I think there's a really interesting story there representing Solo, that flag. But for Lawrence to come out with a sweep on that map when it was down to the last three, just to kind of continue the competition, push Moose off for as long as possible, was a really impressive performance for me. And at a certain point, it looked like it was going to go all the way to see a multi-finalist position. Timebreaker, maybe at that point, very thankful for Lawrence competition there. So yeah, interesting format here with the cup mode, making for a lot of fun. But yeah, by the book, as we said, and 2 lives for these players still. So, or 2 lives for the players of the full bracket for those that are still in the uppers. So
Yeah.
very fun to see.
Yeah, definitely. And we have to talk about it, Orion. We have our players that are moving on. We do see our semifinals. Della Luna up there. Are we surprised? But there is a name that's not there. I don't know if you can spot it.
Are we talking about Chroma?
No, I'm talking
Maybe
about someone else that might be a little upside down.
Oh,
if you turn your head,
Wrist.
you might
Hello,
see it.
hello.
There we go.
I see. Yeah, thank you, producer guy. Yeah, Wrist beaten by Pink Lemonade, the American.
That wasn't the one I was going for, but yeah, Wrist is also not in, unfortunately. Legion, if you turn your head upside down,
I'm gonna say Mutta. I'm gonna
There
say
you go.
Mutta.
The other
Yeah,
person
I'm
that
so
Lemonade took out.
dumb.
You look, you've got Cena's Apple and Sully. It's like, okay, and then obviously Wrist, yeah, that makes sense. I think it's the fact that Mutta had 73. I think that's the shocking part, is that he's so far off of what was first, second, and third. I mean, obviously Wrist was unable to, convert into that upper bracket, but to still be that third and you're 2 points off, that's insane. But with Mutta being 73 points compared to with Wrist here, of course, 120, that's very surprising. That second match there with Josh and Zim, them finishing by themselves, but Sully and Sinas only being separated by a single point. I think you could kind of argue that was maybe a bit expected.
Yeah.
But yeah, with Mutta though, that's kind of shocking. I wonder.
Can I say something on Mutta?
Sure, go ahead.
He is playing a lot of events.
Yeah, I was just about to say
that's
that.
also true. Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
I mean, his performance in the mixed solo was maybe below expectations as well, but he is playing the mixed solo, the full speed, and the RPG as well. And I would say probably of all of them, RPG is going to be the most time intensive because the maps are the longest and most complex. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would call it like shocking or like a major disappointment. I would maybe just say that he is kind of having to distribute his talent across many different disciplines, and that's perhaps why we're not seeing maybe like the best version of Mutta in every tournament that he's taking part in.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And that's one of the hardest parts about this competition is there are certain countries that have pretty much one person locked into, we saw like how Tech, you can even trade the players, and even the Ice could trade players, depending on the map. And then you have some countries where you only got like maybe 10 people that have to learn across the entire track. But speaking of 10 people, let's check out a few more people down in the lower bracket as well. There are definitely some players that we are sad to see go away. A pretty well-known name like Kebby, who was able to make it into finalists, getting eliminated. But there's some really good names in this one. Prime being taken out, but at least Italy is still alive in the lower bracket. Could have been scary.
RIP Iceland though.
Yeah. I was just about to also mention that one. Man, Orion, get out of my head.
Both Swedish players are out. Yes.
Yeah, both Swedish players are out. So we are starting to trim down, and it's one of the hard things is that you do have only so many people representing your country, and just seeing it all come down to these last few moments. Again, we go from 100 plus people down to 32 right away, and then we have the bracket to decide pretty much your fate. So With that being said, there's still more Trackmania games going to be happening. Again, there are other matches happening on other community streams. Make sure to check them out, clip them, and send them into the Discord. So join the Discord as well. Send those clips in so we can see all the action that we have missed here on the main channel. But I think it's time we take a little bit of break, let everyone shake it out, get up, get some snacks, get some drinks, go to the bathroom, whatever you got to do, because we'll be back with more Trackmania games after this.